Hollie Kitchens, brand strategist extraordinaire. Hollie helps unknown entrepreneurs and businesses overcome a lack of authority to expand their digital footprint online. Hollie, thanks for joining us today.
I am so excited to chat with you, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that our fellow honey badgers, all of us know who you are, and we follow you and appreciate all the value that you bring. But we have a lot of viewers and listeners who don't know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so it's so funny because the story, I'll tell a very quick backstory of where I am today. Because as you said, I'm a brand strategist and I help unknown entrepreneurs become known. So helping people establish authority through proven methods of branding and authority building. And it's just so funny because the person, like the little girl that I grew up in a super small town of Rush Springs, Oklahoma, would have never imagined that I help people in the caliber level that I do today. So I'm super grateful. But yeah, I started, like I said, a very small hometown. I grew up, we were on low income housing. We were on the whole system, the government assistance. So unfortunately, as a child, I got bullied a lot because there's a time where I only had one pair of pants. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have a lot of things. So I was associated attention equals bullying because I never wanted to bring any kind of attention on me, because when somebody paid attention to me, they're like, oh, why are you still wearing that? Or those, whatever the case may be. So unfortunately, that kind of stigma spilled into adulthood. So I, with my friend, and she's like, you've got to go apply. Because I told her I was going to become a real estate agent. She's like, you've got to go apply with this guy named Jay Kinder. And Jay Kinder is this huge name in Lawton, Oklahoma. And I'm like, the thought of even talking to somebody like that scared the bejeebies out of me. But unfortunately, I promised her I would. So, well, I guess not unfortunately, but I thought at the time, unfortunately, I promised her I would. So long story short, I came on board as a real estate agent with Jay Kinder Real Estate Experts. And what I loved about it, though, is I got to hide behind Jay's face. Right. So we were a home selling team. I was a buyer's agent, and Jay's face was on the for sale signs. Jay's face was on the billboards. It was on the Hummer. It was everywhere. So like, to me, it was a dream come true because I still got to lay low in my comfort zone while I got to hide behind his face. So, and don't get me wrong, like that brokerage changed the trajectory of my life. Like literally, I don't know where I would be right now. I know I would not be on this video right now if I didn't work for him. But with all that to say, like I still played it safe. I still played it low. Well, in about 2017, I hired an e-commerce coach because I had this little rock and roll boutique that I would create. I had these clothes for girls to wear at concerts. And of course, we do what anybody wants to do when they want to get further in business. They hire a coach to help them get, collapse time. Right. And he asked me a very simple question. And his question then was, what are you doing different than like Target, or what are you doing different than Amazon? Because you can go to both of those places and get a Guns N' Roses t-shirt for $12. Like, why are they going to go to you? And why are they going to spend 3 times that amount? And you're online only, so they can't go in there and feel the material. Like, how are they going to take a leap of faith on you whenever there's other quicker methods and cheaper methods to get that product? So to me, I was like, okay. So at that point in time, I was kind of at the pivotal point where I'm like, okay, I got to get my big girl pants on and start showing up as a business owner. And that kind of made me bring that awareness of, well, what's different is me. Like Target doesn't have me. Amazon doesn't have me. So that's when I started to understand really like the value in personal branding as myself as a business owner. Obviously, I worked with Jay, worked around all these amazing people, these amazing women and men, and they did always a great job of branding themselves, but I never really truly, I guess, kind of knew the value of it until that moment in time. And so I was like, you know what? I always at concerts, like somehow I'm either meeting the bands or I'm connecting with them in some sort of way. I'm like, why not just take those conversations and record it into a podcast? Long story short, that's going to be how I started this journey of branding, because little did I know, by taking that little movement of launching a podcast, I really found my authentic voice. I realized that like attention doesn't equal bullying. Attention means you're building community in your business. You're creating awareness of who you are and what you've got to offer for your audience, your clients, your customers, whoever the case may be. So I think that's really kind of how it started my journey. And as I was doing that, like I had so many entrepreneurial friends that were like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you getting interviews with like Sum 41? How are you getting interviews with Third Eye Blind? Like, how are you doing this?
That's pretty incredible.
Or like, how are you like, creating these podcasts, or how are, they're just kind of intrigued. Like, I always want to launch a podcast. How do I do it? And I guess from there, like, I really get fulfillment out of, I mean, obviously doing those things are amazing and I love it, but I get most fulfillment of doing it for other people as well. So that kind of like propelled me into helping others kind of establish their brand, find their authentic voice, and really kind of stand out in their marketplace as the go-to in their industry.
Wow. That's an incredible story. I mean, first as a brand new agent, and then you end up with Jay Kinder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then Jay has this mega brand, but then you realizing that you need to have a brand within that brand, right?
100%. Yeah. And a funny story is they did encourage us to, develop our own kind of sphere and, develop our own brand, because obviously if we're closing deals, they're winning too.
Right.
So they had purchased, it's a flip camera. I don't know if anybody remembers those.
I had one. I remember.
Okay. It was before like cell phones had good video cameras. So they purchased a flip camera and they're like, hey, if you guys want to use it, it's you guys to use. So I remember I got it one weekend and I did this video of this open house, like a virtual open house. Granted, this is before COVID. So like open houses were still kind of like, I don't know, like virtual ones are a little weird.
Right.
So I stumbled my way through it and I checked the YouTube channel, like, I don't know, like a week later. And girl, I had over 30,000 views of this video. This was back in like 2011, 2012, before
when there weren't that many.
No, like you couldn't pay for that. There was no ads. You couldn't promote your video. And if you did, I definitely didn't know how to do it back then. And it's so funny because like I'm like laughing at myself, because instead of doing what the person that should do, like, oh, I'm going to ride this, I'm going to keep more content out. Yeah. Instead, I get instantly freaked out. I not only delete the video, but I delete my whole entire YouTube channel, because I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, why do people want to know? Like, why do people want to see this house? Who are all these people? Like,
were you just creeped out or scared?
Yeah. that little voice in my head saying like, oh my God, the kitchen is bad. Get away, delete, delete, delete. And it's so funny because now I'm like, man, I could have been some famous YouTuber.
You could have been. That was your platform right there.
I missed the mark on that one, but it was definitely a good lesson learned. Like, yeah, you get all the attention you can.
Well, that brings me to a really good question I get all the time is about video. I know when I started like 8-10 years ago in the business, there wasn't anyone in my area doing social media, for business or video. And so I thought, oh, this is a great way for me to kind of get a local following. And it actually worked really well. But it would take me I'd do like 20 or 30 videos before I would actually find one where I thought, okay, I don't sound weird and I don't look weird. Right.
Yeah.
So people ask all the time, like, do I have to do video? What are your thoughts on that? Being like, if somebody just doesn't want to get on there, is it necessary to do it even if they don't like it?
To me, if you are going to be the face of the company and you're going to be the person that's going out there and attracting, say you're in real estate and you're trying to attract agents, maybe you're trying to grow a team, maybe you're trying to attract clients, and you're the face, I hate to say this, but I would say it's absolutely important. And I'll be honest with you guys, when I started my podcast, that's why I love podcasting in the beginning, because it was audio only. So like I could look like a nightmare and no one would know. They would just hear my voice.
Yeah.
So like that kind of helped me ease into it. So I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I'm so scared, but I just did it. That's not the truth. Like I started out with podcasting and audio. So maybe just start trying that way. But I would say the top pillar of content is going to be audio, because you can repurpose that content in so many different ways and reach so many more people than just an audio. Because if you think kind of like a content pyramid, right? Like this is a pyramid. Trying to look at my camera. There we go. Okay, so like the top of it is going to be your video, because from video, you can make multiple snippets. You can make IGTV series, YouTube series, blog post series, all that with your video, right? And then on top of that, you can take your video, you can rip out the audio. There's your podcast. Then you take that and you transcribe it. There's your blog post. Then you take that and you create multiple avenues, versus like if you just do audio, I can only do so much with that. I can't really do snippets and teasers on Instagram if it's just audio. There are ways you can do like little audio videos, but you couldn't do it a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So I would say if you're really serious about being uncomfortable and taking it to the next level, get on video and start. Like I would say, just start simple. Like start maybe just by doing Zoom interviews. Maybe they're not live just yet. Maybe you get more comfortable talking with somebody, because I remember my first interview, it was awful. Like, oh my gosh. Like I remember looking and I'm like, I literally said to the guy, I'm like, I think I'm about to throw up. Like I literally said that, like, come on, Hollie. But like, that's how it was. And then now today I'm like it's nothing. It's just a, conversation. And I think it's understanding the fear too. And then really doing some mindset work on it and understanding like, how can I overcome that fear? If it's a fear of maybe looking stupid, I know that sounds silly, but some people just don't want to look stupid.
We all think that, I think. I mean, we're all like, oh God, I look terrible, or I sound stupid, right? Yeah.
The worst case is you go viral, and that's actually the best case, right? Because attention is like, that's what you're wanting. So to me, you just start little baby steps, whatever makes you feel comfortable, even if it's even like just start FaceTiming more people so you're comfortable communicating on a screen. Start kind of building that muscle of confidence. Here's the deal. The more you do it, the more you're going to gain confidence in doing it. So of course you're going to feel awful. Of course you're going to feel like I don't want to get in front of a camera. But as you do it more and more, like this is my jam. I love this stuff.
Right. Right. And I think one thing too, I always think like, don't look at it over and over again. Don't replay it before you post it, because then you'll just critique yourself to death. Right.
Well, and it's so funny because like we like pay attention to stuff that like only we see. Like, oh, maybe my eye, like this little eye is kind of like squinting a little bit.
Right.
Knows which eyeline's droopy. No one's like over analyzing it. Half the time, they're probably not even paying attention as your aesthetics as they are listening to what you say.
Yes.
So like, to me, it's funny because like back in the day, I would do so many like videos and it would take me like at least an hour to do like a 5-minute video. And then at the end of the day, I'd end up going back to like the first, if not the second video I shot. Then like the last one where I'm like frustrated, out of breath. Like I'm like,
so stressful.
Yeah. So like, just, don't overthink it. 100%. That's a great tip.
What about like brand new agents trying to start their social media? I get asked all the time, like, what do I post? Where do I start? They're trying to get going. What do you think are a few things they should start with?
So number one rule is always put your face or your brand on everything. Yeah. So it's great that we have a lot of, stats at our fingertips. We get a lot of NAR reports. There's KCM reports. There's a lot of great, fantastic resources out there. However, I would challenge you to make it your own. So instead of just sharing the KCM report, go live and, like on Instagram, on Reels, this is a super quick way on Reels, go Reels, click on the green screen, do a KCM as the backdrop. And then it's you just talking real quick about the points about that KCM. That's a good way to stand out versus just sharing a piece of content that everybody else is resharing as well. Take it a step further and, add your personal touch to it and interpret it to that consumer too. Because if you think about it, we're so in the trenches of real estate that like, it's so funny. Cause like if we say, oh, that deal, well, to us, a deal is a transaction, but to the general public, a deal is like a special or savings or discount.
Yeah.
So it's understanding too, like, take your real estate hat off for just 2 seconds and say, does this make sense to a consumer? And if it doesn't, how can I make it sense for them? So how can I communicate that and establish my knowledge and convey, all the things I know in that, way of doing it. So I would say just make sure you're always in it, and then don't be scared to do a video, and don't be scared if you just get like 1 like and it's just your mom. That's totally fine. Like,
that's a start, right?
You know what I mean? Like you're going to start, people are going to be noticing what you're doing, and you won't even realize it. Like I saw a friend earlier this year that I literally hadn't seen in like 6, 7, 8 years. It gave him a hug, and the first thing he said is, "Oh my gosh, I love your podcast."
I love that.
I had no clue that this guy was even paying attention, right? You just never know who's paying attention in things like that. So you can't focus on the metrics. You can't focus on the vanity things. Just focus on the value. And, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to say, or nobody wants to hear me. I mean, just think of the day in the life of. Talk about like what questions are you getting from buyers? What questions are you getting from sellers? bam, that's your content right there.
Yeah.
And then like, there's just so many ways that you can create different content. And then also too, don't be afraid to let them, know a little bit more about you. And I'm not saying like throw your dirty laundry out there and talk about like all your negativity.
Yeah.
But, to me, I'm like, ask yourself, like, what makes people interested in you? So I always tell clients like, hey, go audit your social media, go look and see what people are engaging in the most. And then just kind of make sure you keep spilling into that, or what's important to you and what are you passionate about. So like for one of my core categories I'm posting is music. I don't play an instrument and I'm definitely not a vocals person. However, I enjoy music, right? So that's just part of like something that I put out there. Now I don't put like, super private stuff because like, you got to keep it professional, but find some ways to splash in your professional knowledge as well as what makes you unique in your personal space.
I love that. I love that so much because I get asked that all the time, especially from new agents. They want to have a separate real estate page and then a personal page. And my thought is always, if nobody really wants to go on your business page and just look at your new open house, right? Or your listing or whatever, they really want to know you. And then they work with people that they know, like, and trust. So what are your thoughts on that, on integrating personal page with business?
So I know that there's a lot of different people who have a lot of different takes on this. So my personal input is whatever makes you feel comfortable. So like for me personally, my personal Facebook is private, but my personal Facebook has a lot of family stuff. It has a lot of stuff that like, I don't know. Like I just really kind of stay on there, can be connected to family. However, on my public figure page, I can still put out stuff out there. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to put just because it's a business Facebook page doesn't mean it has to be 100% business. Actually do quite the opposite.
I love that.
Add value, go live, talk to people in a way that makes them feel like they're right there with you. So like if you don't feel comfortable putting, your personal stuff, maybe you're like, okay, well, I don't want to keep spamming my friends with houses and stuff. That's totally fine. Then create your public figure page. But here's the deal. Whatever you do, you just got to stay committed to it and making sure that you actually do it, because the last thing you want to do is start a page and then not post for 5 years and look like you've gone out of business.
Right. Nobody wants to see that. I like that. I never really kind of thought about making your public figure page and then kind of integrating your personal stuff.
One thing I can kind of say, like from a mindset perspective of looking at it, think about it as a character. And I'm not trying to say be fake, but I'm just saying, okay, who are you? How you want to show up? And how are we going to be putting ourselves out there to people? And then just play that role. You know what I mean? I don't want to say play like being fake, but like be authentic, obviously. But just understand too that it's not just all listings and all just sold. Right. No one's going to want to consume that information unless if you just sold my house. I really don't care, to be honest. Exactly. Although obviously we have to post those things so people understand we're in real estate and the things that we're doing. But I've heard some creative ways that real estate agents are going in like, for instance, on just sold, like they'll have the new family in the home and they'll do some kind of TikTok dance with the new family. That's cute. Closed. Yeah. It's a little bit different than just the traditional at the closing table, everybody smiling because we're closing finally. Yeah. So thanks for really, yeah. Every post is the same, just different. Right. So think through some creative ways as like, how can we tell people we just sold this house without saying, oh, I just sold this house. Yeah. That's so great. It's like welcome the Smiths in their new home, or celebrate, something fun and create a TikTok with it, or a reel or something like that. Just kind of think outside the box, but understand just because it's a business page, you absolutely still need to incorporate some personal branding in there because people do business with people. Right. They want to know you. 100%. Yeah. So you're all about creating authority online. So sometimes I see people who have a ton of followers or a little engagement, but I don't necessarily see that they have authority. So what do you mean by creating authority? So to me, becoming an authority is you are seen as an expert in your field and your knowledge, and it's not just by yourself. So it's not like me saying, I'm authority in podcasting. They're like, okay, yeah, cool. That's cute. You know what I mean? I'm so good at selling houses. Okay, cool. Yeah, you and every other real estate agent. But to me, establishing authority is having an omnipresence. It's kind of people look at you and they're like, that's Hollie. She's the podcast girl. That's Hollie. She's the branding girl. To me, that's establishing authority. And ways that you establish authority it's definitely nothing that's done overnight. Like we see people like it's that day age where you can buy to be in Forbes, but you're not really in Forbes. It's like some fake little blog somewhere.
I've seen
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So people are kind of seeing through that. To me, that's almost like you're making distrust, right? So
Mhm.
to me, it's authority is being the expert, continuously putting that content out there, speaking on as many stages as you can, being featured in as many articles as you can, being interviewed as much as you can on the topic that you specialize in. And that's the key word, specialize in. That's going to be how you establish an effective authority like strategy at the end of the day. If you can't talk about how much you're so good, you have to find ways of having other people do it for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like what you said earlier about KCM, because I see people post those slides and they're excellent, right? But
They
you
are
could literally take that and make a video, right? You could just
100%.
totally take whatever little slide and do a 1 minute, 45-second video and start creating content as like the knowledge broker in your area, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you just got to start somewhere. Like, and I know a lot of people are like, well, somebody else in my market has already done that, or somebody else is known as the go-to agent. That person's not you though. So like you have unique abilities and unique advantages above them that you probably just don't know yet. But as soon as you start putting yourself out there, just being consistent and like, and understanding too, like who do I want to be known as the authority of in this part? So like, for instance, with me, like I wouldn't want to be like, oh, one day I'm going to talk about, I'm going to be authority in podcasting, and then I'm going to be authority in book publishing, and then I'm going to be authority in blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to be, what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
To me, it's understanding crystal clear, like really, truly, what's something that you could speak on a stage for an hour without even having any preparation on it.
Right? Yes.
That's the topic that you should be sharing and sharing and sharing again. So like with, buyers and sellers, there's so many niches too. Like you can go through and talk about like STR, so short-term rentals. You can talk about like foreclosures, short sales, investors, first-time home buyers, empty nesters, just a lot of things that people don't think through, that like they don't think that, oh, that's actually a really great topic. Like you can specialize in so much. There's a lot of opportunity out there.
I agree. So with your company and you helping agents and just businesses in general create authority, what exactly do you do specifically if somebody was to reach out to you?
100%. So like for us, we do kind of an audit, like where do they first, like we gotta say, where are you showing up as a online, where's your presence at, but most importantly, where's it not at? And then going through and finding ways. So a lot of our clients, first off, they don't have an effective personal brand. So you can't really put yourself out there if you don't have a consistent brand look and feel. So we go through, create brand identities, but then from that too, like some ways, like just a classic example of other than podcasting. So we take podcasting from start to finish, but then we also do monthly services. But then on top of that as well, we do media features. So like we get people featured in media and have people, showcased as the expert being interviewed very intentionally, because, a lot of people like, they're just like, oh, I got featured. But then it's like, you paid for an ad on something that's not being featured. Being featured is being, first off, not having to pay for it, other than obviously the agency. You pay an agency to help you, but we don't go in and say, hey, Tom, here's $20. Let's get DeAnn, let's get her featured in this. You know what I mean? Like we don't, you don't pay for that feature. Like a true person that wants to be, showcased, they're going to be interested in you and they want to showcase you for free. So getting people featured up, I would say probably like the number one way we help people with authority, other than podcasting.
That's super valuable.
Yeah.
Super valuable. I have a question here in the comments. What do you guys use for your camera? Are you using a laptop camera?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I use my laptop camera.
Right?
I know I should get like a nicer, super cool video camera. But it's my, I do make sure my audio is correct. So I do have my little.
You have a nice microphone. Yeah.
But my camera.
But I have a nice camera and I actually don't like it. I'm just using my desktop.
And to me too, I think like do what's most comfortable for you and don't overthink it. So like for you, you just the camera, like you didn't like it. Like I know some cameras, like they can zoom in super close.
That's what it was. I was like, I don't want anyone to see me that close.
I don't want you to see my pores. Like I want you to see like, the content.
Yeah.
So honestly, this is unprofessional, but it's the camera that's on my thing. And a lot of things too, you guys, like I've done podcasts from my cell phone because my computer was acting crazy.
That's crazy. Really?
But I made sure I had a good microphone connected to it, because podcasting, if you really think about it, it's a true audio experience. And that's when you want to make sure you have a great, crisp sound, because no one
Mhm.
wants to listen to a bunch of background noise.
Sure. Sure. What are some things people should not do online? If you have a couple pointers.
Yeah, so I would say don't share from experience that you don't have. For me, like I would not be the one to tell you about finances. Like I don't even save receipts. So
You're like, I don't do my taxes. Like,
I do my taxes. I just don't say my receipts.
don't keep receipts. Yeah, me either.
my bank statements tell it all. But anyways, but like you really share from experience. Don't share from hypotheticals, or don't act like you know it. Don't fake it till you make it,
Mhm.
because people really enjoy following you through the process. If I was to start out the gun on my very first podcast episode saying, "Oh yeah, I am this world-class podcaster. I'm so fabulous. I'm so this," I would have looked like a fool, because like I've made a lot of hiccups. I still make a lot of hiccups. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
forgetting to hit the record button, or stumbling, or saying too much, things like that. But people love seeing you evolve. So don't fake it till you make it. Just be yourself, be authentic.
Mhm.
Share from experiences. Don't share from hypotheticals. It's always good maybe to share, like, hey, my friend does this. I'm gonna have her talk about it. Don't be afraid to pull in some other audiences. And that'd be another tip too. Would be, don't be afraid to cross pollinate audiences. Going live with other people, you're getting exposed to their audience, and they're getting exposed to your audience. So it's a good little cross pollination of it. So just don't be afraid of that. And then I would say definitely number one would be, don't fake it till you make it. Just be yourself.
I agree with that. I've told a couple of brand new realtors a few times they're afraid to go out there and act like they have this real estate business that they don't have when they're new. And I'm like, no, show everybody that you're new, and my journey through real estate, and what I'm learning, and who I'm collaborating with. And
Exactly.
I think that's what somebody wants to see. That's more interesting than just saying, oh, I have all these houses that I sell. Right.
Exactly. And, being a brand new agent, I remember that feeling too, whenever I was selling real estate back in Oklahoma. And it was, instead of saying, oh, I've had 20 years of experience, we're like, girl, you're 22. How are you going to have 20 years of experience? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but instead of saying that, I just say, hey, we have a fantastic team. So then it's
Right.
leveraging the people that you currently have. So that's not a lie. We had a closing coordinator, we had a listing coordinator, we had a courier, we had obviously the leverage of Jay, we had agents on the team. So it wasn't just me. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, instead of
Right.
saying, oh, I'm brand new, but I promise you I'm going to do a good job.
Yeah.
Just speak from like authentic, points of view that amplify yourself without fibbing.
Yeah, I partnered with this amazing group, right? And they're giving us all this support, and that's what we have to offer.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So, one last question for you, which I love to ask. If you could go back to your younger self when you were starting out in business and tell yourself one piece of advice, whether it is branding or just business in general, what would you share with younger Hollie?
So outside of saying don't delete your YouTube channel,
You could be
outside of that one.
Yeah.
So outside of that one, I would really say, because I think a lot of things that held me back, I was so fearful of what people will say and people's opinions. And I know as an adult now, it's easy for me to say, hey, I don't really give two, what about opinions.
Right.
But it's easy to say that once you've overcome that. But if somebody who's just starting out and they're not very confident, if I was to go back to my younger self, I would say this: hey, pay attention to the feedback you get, because not all feedback is feedback you need to listen to. Meaning, like, I'm always open to constructive criticism. I'm always open to getting better. But so many of the voices that try to pull you down, they don't have your best interest at heart. They're not coming from a place of love. So I guess if I was to go back and tell myself like one little tidbit of advice, it would be really first ask yourself, are they coming from a place of love, or are they coming from a place of scarcity and hatred? Like, if it's the latter, like, I can't imagine, like, I mean, especially as girls, I don't know if I can speak, obviously I can't speak for guys, but as girls growing up, we wanted to have the perfect makeup. We wanted perfect hair. We wanted perfect body shape and this, that, and the other. But we're so fixated on what people are going to say that they're just going to tear us down. So I think if I had that understanding then as I do now, girl, I would be putting out so much content. I would have been like 60,000 YouTube.
Right. We'd both be famous right now.
But yeah, I think that'd be just a good thing. It's just understanding there's a time and place you don't have to listen to feedback.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So where can our viewers find you and connect with you?
It's super easy. You can obviously just go to holliekitchens.com, or I'm on all social media platforms at Hollie Kitchens. So it's HOLLIEKITCHENS. That's my handle. So yeah, love to connect with everybody. And if you guys have any questions or anything else, shoot it my way. I would love to help you out in any way possible.
Yeah, you guys reach out to Hollie. Thanks so much for being here and taking time out of your busy day. We really appreciate it. And I've been so inspired by you and following you, and you provide so much value and content to our community. And just, we really appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the kind words. It was a blast. I loved being on here. And yeah,
I
just
love
very
it.
honored.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you.